Hello, this is Courtney with Love Lives On, and today I'm excited to be interviewing Mr. Bruce Humphrey, President and CEO of Humphrey Funeral Homes here in Toronto. Thank you, Bruce, for taking the time to meet with us today.
My pleasure, Courtney.
So why would families choose burials over cremation?
It's kind of complicated, but I'll try my best to answer the question. Usually people buy a plot in a cemetery for many generations, so they're accustomed to having a grave for themselves in the future as well as their children. So it's sort of a cultural thing. And you can still have cremation and have cremated remains placed in the family plot. But that's basically what it is. Most of the people in Toronto started with burial.
Okay. And what factors should people consider when they're purchasing a casket?
Well, there are basically two types of caskets, protective and non-protective. And protective is a metal casket with a seal, which is airtight and watertight. Non-protective can be metal as well, wood or cloth-covered wood. So that's basically the description of most of the caskets, but the quality of the casket and the materials that it's made from escalates the price. So if you have a non-solid wood casket versus a 3-inch solid mahogany, obviously the mahogany is going to be much more expensive.
So the material that the casket's made out of is very important then?
That's one of the reasons why it's expensive, yes.
In your experience, what is the most commonly selected type of casket?
Well, if it's for visitation and a funeral, usually it's a dark wood casket made of selected woods, maybe not as solid of one type of wood. And sometimes when the casket's open, they're concerned about maybe a neutral type of interior. So dark wood, neutral interior is the most average type.
And do families have to purchase auxiliary products such as casket liners and vaults? And what's your best advice for families when they're making those purchasing decisions?
For burial, some cemeteries have a bylaw saying you have to have an outer container. Okay. Most cemeteries do not have that bylaw. But if people are concerned about protection of the casket and of the remains, then we strongly recommend some type of outer container. Some individuals really want a watertight protection with a wooden casket, so then they upgrade to a guaranteed watertight outer container.
What is the price range for caskets, and what factors impact the price?
Well, caskets can be from, let's say, $30,000 down to $700-800.
Wow, yeah.
Okay, so firstly, the most expensive caskets are made in the States. So we have to import it. Well, because of the number of people, 10 times the people, therefore 10 times the available product. Yeah. So they can specialize in the United States. So then we have duty and exchange to deal with. Also, they can produce bronze caskets here, but we can't produce bronze caskets here because they're limited in numbers. And then the very thick wood caskets, it's really funny, they'll import wood from Canada and make the caskets in the States and then send them back to us again. So to answer your question, there's so many different types of caskets. That can be just a basic wooden box that's stained. It can be a mixture of softwood caskets, softwood type of caskets, hardwood caskets, solid wood caskets, bronze, coppers, and so on. Yeah. So it's the material that it's made of and the interior that would govern the cost of the casket.
And what about the price range for auxiliary products? And what impacts that? Yeah.
Another container normally would be somewhere between, let's say, $1,000 and $3,000, somewhere in there, depending on the type, obviously, and the quality.
Okay, so type and quality impacts the price. Why do some families have funerals with an open casket?
Most families have an open casket for themselves. Many families would decide to close the casket for their friends because they feel awkward standing in front of a casket that's open. Some people have perhaps a relative who had cancer for an awfully long time, so they feel they should close it because it didn't look like the person. But the vast majority of families have a casket open for themselves, and the reason why it's so valuable is because we go through several stages of grief. One of them is acceptance of the person's death, and it's not just a subconscious acceptance and visual acceptance. It's also what a lot of people call an unconscious acceptance, that your brain has to see to believe. And that's why it's important and why they do it.
Thank you so much, Bruce, for meeting with us today. This is Courtney from Love Lives On. Thank you for watching. If you like what you see, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more ideas on how we can celebrate our lives now and forever.